stop working?
I don't know. Am I not fully updated or something? Resume recording. All right. Want to kick us off, Rick?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Welcome. This is Upstory. We are both a company and I guess a podcast. What are we calling it? I don't know. We're still figuring that out.
We're a thing.
Ultimately, what we do is in this podcast, in this video series, we talk about the apps that we come across, the apps that we use every day, and some of them that are new to us, and just kind of give our thoughts on them. And yeah, hopefully we'll give some great feedback. Upstory is a small design firm. We've worked with small startups all the way up to big companies with millions and millions of users. Ultimately, we just like making really great products with our friends and clients. I'm Rick. I'm the founder and product designer, lead product designer at Upstory. And then we have Daniel here.
Yeah, I'm Daniel. Been designing for about 10 years. Senior designer here at Upstory. I like business. I like design. And I think product design kind of merges those two together. So excited to go through the Hurt app.
Yeah, exciting. How about Nash?
I'm Nash.
Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I'm a growth consultant working with various size companies across the spectrum, and I am happy to be here.
Awesome. So Daniel, you just said it. We're going through an app called the Hurt app. Tell us a little bit about it. You're going to share? Okay, sweet.
Yes, sir. So Hurt app, from my research, is basically connecting a user to a doctor. You need to go through a form and basically let them know what's wrong, and you'll get connected to some sort of professional, and then this professional will reach out and then try to see what's going on and try to service you through the app or online. And then if that's not enough, they'll set up an appointment and get you in person.
Okay, awesome. And so what do we have here? Are these kind of the onboarding screens from the app?
Yeah, so went on earlier last night and then just took some screenshots of the flows just so we can go through it. So it's right here is the homepage. Nice little screen, create an account or log in. Once you create an account, you get hit with this form. Straight up, first name, last name. I'm not sure why you need address, but address is in here. And then verify.
I do, actually.
You do?
So address, you need it because in this type of medical world, you can't just, like, someone in New York can't necessarily help someone in Washington because they have to have a Washington license. They have to have a license in the state that the patient, their home address is.
Okay.
So yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing. So we've done a lot of work in the telehealth field, and there are a lot of specific requirements that, yeah, it may feel like, oh, that's a lot to fill out, but there are specific requirements requiring you to, kind of have that state of residence.
Interesting.
And that's really what it comes to. Does the address really matter? What matters there is their state of residence.
Cool. I mean, even that alone would be super helpful. Like understanding why I need to do this instead of putting, like, honestly, if I'm like really careful about my privacy and my data, like I probably would have put a fake address, and then I wouldn't have been able to get serviced, which would suck.
No, it's true. I mean, going into it right away, if we're going to just get into feedback, first of all, let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that is the low battery on the phone.
No, I was gonna say I was trying to keep it blended in, but then come on, man.
No, I got to call you out on that one real quick. But no, seriously, if you look at this right away, you go to that home screen, you go right to creating an account, and it's a pretty heavy lift right here to go from home screen of the app to, oh, whoa, first name, last name, birthday, gender, address, email, password. Like that's a lot to jump me into right away. And it didn't even, and I'm coming on this fresh. And so, I haven't looked at the website. I haven't really, done a deep review other than the talk that we've had about it, just real briefly kind of understanding it. But it's a big, asking someone to fill in that amount of information. You hit on it right away, Daniel. You're going to get bad information, to some extent. You're going to get a lot of fake users. And I saw briefly they do some insurance later. So there's some, some harder steps, but you're also just going to get a lot less interested parties because you haven't really given them a reason yet to do this. And so I'm gonna cheat here because when you zoomed out, immediately I saw, if you zoom out just a bit, there were a lot of steps like tap where it hurts.
Yeah.
That right there, to me, that is step one. I don't want you to ask for my information yet. I want you to I want you to give me something first. And the way we think about this from product designer's standpoint is you have to give something before you can get something. And we've given nothing, and we're asking you, the user, to give me something. And typically you need to give the user something before you can get something from the user.
Yeah. I like to phrase it as there's no buy-in for me to give you this sensitive information. Like name, I know it's gonna be useful. Maybe someone's gonna sell it. Who knows? But for me to give you to give someone my name, my address, my gender, and email is a lot. And I only did it because I'm trying to go through the Herd app. But if this was any other like ordinary app I wasn't super invested into, I probably would have just tapped out.
Yeah, that's true. And it could be, I mean, legitimately that second step there where you're going through and you're, the bottom row here. And let's go ahead and let's just go ahead and jump to that really quick. I see we have insurance there as well. But so report a problem. We show the dashboard. It says, welcome to Hurt.
This is the homepage, by the way. Once you finish, you get landed into here.
So then start with Hurt. And right away, here's the missing step. Maybe I'm missing something here. Maybe there's another onboarding somewhere that does this. But this, to me, I have an injury. I have an ongoing bone/joint pain. Like, this is step one. Once I get through this and I go, hey, you even show me step one, step two, step three. You kind of walk me through the process. Now I'm more invested. Yeah, I'm much more invested once I get here. And this who is hurt, we can handle that later. I want to go into getting myself invested in this app, getting myself invested in what I'm doing here. And you could even have the upload the photo. A lot of these things we could do before we even create an account. You basically create like a blanking on the word, but like a not a dummy account, but a pre checkout account, and then you tie that user into whatever they fill in later. So it's definitely something doable. We were doing that on a telehealth app that one of our clients. We do something very similar there. So I know it's very doable, but I think there's some real low-hanging fruit because I bet their drop-off on that first page is incredibly high.
Yeah.
And I bet you just switched those pages. If you did nothing else and you just switched, essentially, you can't do it exactly, but you switch that second row for the first row, I bet their drop-off gets cut in half.
Yeah. And I was gonna say something similar. I think we can go through most of this, and it's almost better for me to, if I'm hurt, like I have an injury, go straight into this, and then I go through this whole form, and then we'll talk about this form in a second. But I'll go through this whole form, and now that I'm about to acknowledge and submit, now I gotta put this in. Like I'm gonna put all this in because I want my answers like right now. Like I'm invested. I've bought in. I put in like this much. I've already put, I don't know, 5 minutes worth of my time into making sure this is good. I'm gonna fill this out because at this point, like, it's almost wasted my life if I don't do this.
Yeah, exactly. And then at that point, you've onboarded a user who's ready to go.
Yeah.
And you probably need to, now you have a dashboard. And what does the dashboard show? The dashboard probably just shows like your current, I'm trying to play devil's advocate a little bit here. It's like, well, if we do it this way, then we don't have an app once they get there. Well, that's a problem I'm willing to solve.
Yeah.
That's a problem I think we could solve pretty easily. Where it's like, oh, here are your active requests, and maybe a few other pieces, and here's your doctor, etc. But No, this is, I think there's a lot of opportunity here, and I like the idea. Let's just back up. I jumped right
Yeah,
into it
you
really
went in
quick.
guns blazing, man.
I know, guns blazing, exactly. But also, like, I think there's some really cool things, some really cool stuff here. Even just the body there, tap where it hurts,
Yeah,
like,
this is really
it's
clever.
great. It's not like a drop down. They've definitely, put a little bit of effort into doing that right. Um, and looks like Daniel's thigh hurts. Sorry about
I
that.
had a little cramp.
Nice. No, but I think I think there's a lot here that's I don't want to minimize the work that's already been done.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of good work that's been done. I just think that there's some real low hanging fruit opportunity here, but there's also, looking at it a little bit further, some of these other steps here at that confirm and submit step page. I feel like you can draw that out a little bit more,
Yeah.
so that it's a little bit easier. When you have this whole keep on scrolling, there's almost this like infinite, like, when do I get done with this page? And I'd want to break those up a little bit. I think you'll probably see better response that way.
Yeah, Rick, a lot of times some of our clients, we've done a bunch of onboarding for a couple clients now. Um, we've definitely got some pushback on we want less pages. Less pages is more, or less pages is better. Less is more, but most of the time in onboarding, that's typically not the case. Rick, do you mind explaining like what the thought process is there?
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to one thing, which is cognitive load. When you get to a page and you see like the very first page we showed on here, where it's the name, email, all that stuff. Now this is something that someone's fairly used to filling out, so the cognitive load on a page like this maybe isn't super high. But you get to a page that has a lot of input fields, and suddenly your mind is just going all over the place. Whereas when you look at something like this and you scroll down, did it happen, work, all these other questions, I'm kind of distracted. I'm looking through and I'm saying, okay, yeah, and I'm looking at the next question while I'm filling this one out, so you're not getting attention. The other thing is, you really can zip through when these questions are, kind of one single modality questions, where it's like, hey, let's just talk about this right now. Tell me about this. The other thing is you get this dopamine hit every time you move to the next page. You get this like, hey, I've accomplished something. Whereas here, it's almost like, I just filled this out. I just finished this. And there are reasons to put it all on one page. I'm not saying it's all or nothing. It's always like everything, always, one question at a time. There are definitely reasons when you want to do that. And sometimes, usually that's more for like your advanced users, where they're going to be doing this a lot. They don't need to be guided through the process as much. But when they're a new user, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, we're going to err toward putting up, less and more just kind of keeping it to one subject per page.
Yeah, and I was going to say too, just add on top of that, things like describe what happened in detail, just to make this easy. Like this, but in itself is like a pretty heavy page, like trying to figure out what to write, how to write it, think about, I don't want to sound like an idiot, so I want to like make sure my sentences are like formulated, but then just for sure, like if you've seen this enough times, like a consistent way people are saying things, and you can kind of make those as like quick selects, and maybe you can edit a quick select, but just make it easier for them to describe what happened versus like having to write out potentially 1,000 characters,
Yeah, no, that's a good point. If you can prime them, even if you still have a what happened, and it's what happened, and you filter there out. You say it was a sports injury, or it just started aching over time, or there are different types of and you have benefits beyond making it easy for your users. Your other benefit is now you're categorizing these for yourself, and text field is a little bit harder to internally categorize.
Yeah, like it's a spine issue, or it's a leg issue, like not a knee issue. Like those are all different doctors,
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, cool.
So we talked about this form. Obviously, you have a lot of thoughts on this form. Lots of things we can do to make this better? I guess Rick, I want to ask you again. What are the top three like lowest hanging fruit that you would do um, for Hurt right now?
Yeah.
Considering what their
Uh,
KPI should be or would be, and how like you would design according to that.
yeah. Well, definitely they're going to have a KPI, a very simple KPI of like just the number of people who sign up,
Mm-hmm.
right? And also drop off. How about, how often people get to the app and just don't fill it out.
Mm-hmm.
That's a key problem with every app ever. And so I'm trying to think, I'm sure their KPIs are around, number of signups,
Mm-hmm.
and then also we don't have access into viewing beyond the sign up right
Yeah.
now. I think, once we actually create a thing, then that creates a whole journey, which I'm sure there's a lot more that we could put feedback into. But for now, we're just, kind of looking at this narrow lens of this initial experience. So with that context, the KPI to me is it's just number of signups, unless
Mm-hmm.
Daniel, you think there's something else.
Yeah, number of signups. I think one other one for like the actual business would be like maybe two. Like one is getting through having an injury and successfully connecting to a doctor and getting that resolved, and then the other is successfully getting to an appointment, like in-person appointment. I don't know. Obviously, I couldn't go past this point because
Right.
I don't want to hit like a random doctor and be like, hey, like I was just testing this app. Um,
Yeah.
but I think there should be a KPI on like if there was an actual issue, was it resolved and was it resolved well, timely, the user's experience getting this like going through this form, for example, things like that.
Yeah. And you have, I mean, maybe even like net promoter score of just like how likely are
Mm-hmm.
you to recommend this to a friend.
Yeah.
But let's focus in on probably the biggest issue for them is number of signups, number of successful signups. And to me, you asked for three things. The first thing is super obvious. It's let's take, or I should say super obvious to me, maybe not for everyone, but for me it's obvious. It's let's take this onboarding and let's switch the order.
Mm-hmm.
And without any design tweaks or visual tweaks, really it's just make the minimal changes necessary to shift this so that you can onboard someone without getting asking for too much data right at the start. The second would be that last page, that confirm and submit.
Mm-hmm.
Break that up a little bit, make that a little bit easier.
Yeah.
To separate kind of the cognitive load. And then the third would be more kind of little things like you're saying that describe what happened,
Mm-hmm.
categorizing that and having some options for people to click and maybe provide a little bit more detail there, but make that real easy. And to some extent, I think that may not be the hardest thing for
Mm-hmm.
someone to get to, that describe what happened. But I do think it would be beneficial. And then along the same lines, I think Daniel, you mentioned it before, like when we get into the state or the address, like having a few of those kind of holding your hand moments where it says, hey, here's why we're asking for this. I think that would be another benefit.
Just a little bit more information, especially if Hurt isn't like a super well-known app or company. Like me giving certain information is sensitive to me. I would kind of need a little bit more reinforcement on why am I giving this to you.
Yeah, that's what I would say is kind of the low hanging fruit. Nash, Daniel, any other thoughts?
We'll go with Nash. How you feeling?
Yeah, I would just agree that it doesn't really align with the brand of like you're hurt, of like I'm hurt. I rush to this app and I go and fill out like all this information. You'd want to like get into the meat of like I'm hurt. Here's where it hurts. And so I wasn't thinking that what you guys said, but it's a really good point when I think of what the app is intended for.
No, that's super interesting.
Yeah,
because
I was about to say that's a fair point.
You're trying to become like the antidote to what they're used to, and what they're used to is going out and filling out this annoying form and like doing all this stuff first. Whereas if you want to be the antidote, like, let's not do that first. Let's get to the stuff that I care about first. So it's another, beyond just like being a little bit more useful for our users, it also kind of pushes forward that value proposition of this is better than the alternative.
Yeah, I really like that train of thought. Just like, I'm hurt, I want help now, and then if I see like a huge form, it's like this is not help now, this is help later.
Yeah.
And then obviously we need the information, but then there's ways to design it where it feels like you're getting instant like feedback or instant gratification.
Yeah. Awesome. Any other thoughts, Daniel?
I think that's it. I mean, this homepage obviously is just kind of like giving information. I think probably if I were to have sent this out, maybe it would show up here, and maybe this welcome will be like it's more of like a initial first time experience type thing. But um, this page probably can also just use a light rework.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't really talk much about the visual design. I think it's decent, but it definitely, if you really wanted to stand out, I think you could give it a bit of a facelift and really give it, make it shine. But I mean, that to me is not the low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Like, that's beneficial, and I think I see a lot of designers fall into the trap of, oh, let's just make all the buttons look better, and let's just make the shadows better and the colors, but then you end up with the same app that has the same problems. And that's one of the things I as a designer, I feel like that's just completely missing the mark. Like, the mark here is, let's actually make this more functional. Let's make it better for our users.
Yeah, I feel like it's our job to make it better, not just prettier.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. That's all we have.
Cool. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you got something out of this. And yeah, we'll catch you next time. Thanks.
Have a good one.
Peace.